Very similar to what you see with sports teams who want to build stadiums now. They focus on the fan amenities, but one of the big motivations for Charlie Ebbets building over here was because of all the factories and factory tenements that were in Gowanus meant that there were much taller buildings that people could sit on the roofs and watch the baseball games for free. So since the buildings over here weren't quite so large, he felt that it would be much harder to see the Dodgers without buying a ticket over here. So that and that fit in with just like I said, the general modernization and rezoning of New York that happened at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century. After about 40 years, so in 1957, the Dodgers once again decided they wanted a new stadium. They wanted to be able to increase revenue. And this time they were asking for essentially public money to build a new stadium over in Atlantic Yards where Barclays would end up being. This was opposed by the infamous city planner Robert Moses. In public, he pitched this as being a very, the Dodgers were asking for what he felt was an unfair deal. They said that they wanted $1.5 million in public money to declare eminent domain and buy out the rail yard that was there and the surrounding properties, whereas the city was projecting that they would end up losing about $20 million in revenue. And so Moses felt that or at least he presented the proposal. He said that we're standing up for New York. This is an unfair deal, but in reality, Dodgers owner Walter O'Malley, it seems like he just didn't go through the channels that Moses wanted him to go through. So Moses kind of had a hardline stance where he wouldn't negotiate on the stadium whatsoever, and that's what led to O'Malley selling the stadium. The actual announcement of that was the anniversary for that was yesterday. It happened on May 3rd, 1957. So 62 years ago yesterday was when they declared that they were leaving. And sort of in the process of doing that, they built the what you might call the template for today's modern sports stadium grift, where sports teams will threaten, ask for all this public money, and if they don't get it, they'll threaten to leave the town. That whole process was, this was and teams like the A's, who went from Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland, kind of built the template for what we see now in that kind of municipal sort of exploitation. The actual stadium was torn down only 3 years after the Dodgers left town, which I didn't realize it was so immediate, but I think there was a lot of resentment towards the team, as well as just like a desire to turn the space into something else more functional. So the apartments came up essentially as part of an affordable housing initiative. But in modern times, the new ownership for the Ebbets Field apartments actually opted out of that particular affordable housing program. And the landlords there are very notorious for not providing services, for charging tenants for basic repairs. And there have been several fires in the building that have been attributed to residents heating their apartments with their stoves because there has been no heat in the building. So that kind of situation shows that New York still has a really long way to go as far as providing better tenants' rights, providing better affordable housing. This is a reputation for being a strong city for tenants, but we still have a long way to go on that front. So, yeah. Any questions about Ebbets Field or the new development?
No question, but if anybody did the movie from 42
Yeah.
about Jackie Robinson,
Yep, that was a couple of years ago. Yep.
I don't know, just to piggyback off of what Steph said, some of the concerns with Ebbets Field now is not doing what it was first built to do, which was serve serve the lower income community. And so now with gentrification, we're having issues with, like Seth said, the management company who is using our community development as ways to overcharge people. Many apartments have caught fire due to amenities being way outdated and old, things like elevators not working, and just the community the building not being able to serve the lower income. So if you go on Zillow or any of those other websites, the apartments are listed for like way higher than people who aren't there. So a lot of people have, I think I read 72,000 lawsuits just in the year of 2017. So there's a lot of legal battles and people are tied up in court because people are fighting to kind of get what they feel like they have a right to, whereas other people in the community want to push things forward and want to be on with it. The building at the field, it really did, with it being torn down, it really did keep up its presence, community presence. There was a lot of things that would happen, I want to say 10, 15 years when I was growing up. So there was a lot of community outreach. There's something in the building called the community room, which a lot of big buildings have, and it would service the youth, people who lived there and people who were from surrounding areas. So even now today they have food pantries. I'm not sure if people know, where they give out food, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. The church that we stopped at, First Baptist in Ebbsfield, have had connections over the years where they service the community and things of that sort. So it's still up and coming in that way, and the community is definitely fighting to keep it where it is, to keep it progressing, but to also keep some of the very real and important history that we have there.
Awesome.
Proud of you, girl. The next stop, right? Next stop, right?
So we've got 2 more stops.
Yeah.
I'll do that really quickly. As we're going to walk down Bedford, pretty much all of that side of Bedford Avenue is part of the stadium site. So our main campus building is like 2 blocks down. That was part of it. Those big apartment buildings farther down, that's Ebbets Field. We're going to walk past land that used to be the stadium. Then we're going to visit Jackie Robinson's park and school.
Yeah, I think that's the other half of the stadium that was kind of around the block.
And then we'll conclude by stopping at Medgar.
From Bedford Avenue, all the way down Bedford Avenue, Montgomery, down McKeever, and up Empire, that whole land is Ebbsfield, is the former Ebbsfield Apartments. Across the street at the corner, that is Jackie Robinson Junior High School. And so we also have that entire lot, the school taking up half of the block, and the recreational center / park takes up the other half. So it's a very big piece of land.
Right. And there's actually 2 playgrounds. So this is the one in Brooklyn, and it's actually like a bigger recreational center in Manhattan, like more Harlem. So like looking it up, I was getting confused looking up the 2. But this playground was actually built in 1969. In 2017, the park was actually done over to actually put like more of the historical features, like the monuments, like the actual, where it says over there, like in celebration and all stuff like that. They tried to make more swings or stuff like that because the floor was a little more broken down, wasn't really taken care of. So now we're actually trying to keep it up and running.
Yeah. So in 2017, our mayor and a few other community politicians decided that they were going to do over the park, which was a huge need. So years ago, I remember growing up, we used to do a lot of community fundraisers ourselves. We would do cookouts and people would sell things and try to kind of keep up our neighborhood ourselves because we had a lot of trouble with funding. So the park was pretty outdated. Swings were old, things that were being put into newer parks for, I guess, regulation reasons or safety reasons. We kind of were at the back end of those things. So in 2017, there was a $900,000 funding, and the park is fully redone. So some of the things that we kept, I noticed, is that little house there. There's bathrooms in there, and I have not played in the park in a while, but when I was younger, they would have all the things like basketball, skates, hula hoops, bikes, just things that we can take out, and we would bring it back to we would sign them out, our toys out, hula hoops, double dutch ropes, we would borrow them, sign them out, and then bring it back. It taught us responsibility and a sense of community. Some of the things that I noticed that we kept were the colors. So the colors are the same from way back then. We stayed true to like the Dodgers colors, which is very nice.
Also, to touch on some gentrification going on in this neighborhood, they actually are trying to push out the older residents who have the grandfathered in rents that they are paying, and they're actually trying to push in the newer residents to overcharge them to make it more, I guess you could say, significant to the area. It's becoming a prime. Crown Heights is actually becoming a prime location in Brooklyn part gentrification. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got 5. Okay. So just to wrap it up, pretty much, like I was saying, that Crown Heights is still one of the neighborhoods that is kind of affordable, but it is starting to catch up with other neighborhoods in Brooklyn that are gentrifying and the prices are rising.
Very good. That's good.
So, any questions? Any questions?
Architecturally, what is it like in the building?
Okay. So certain things are up to date. I was just giving you guys an example of like when we were at the Armory of things that may, be going on. So things like the elevator might be new because there are like issues with that where the building had to put their foot down and be like, no. But then there's things in the basement, there's a recreation room that was very, very big for our community, our building. There's, and I'm bringing this up because it's still down there today. The tenants still, and the youth can still utilize it. They have pool tables, ping pong, a bunch of things. It's basically like an after-school program that kids can just kind of sign themselves into. Another thing that is the same, that is very cool, is I guess blue and yellow, the Dodgers theme. So like the community room, it has a big mural on the door and it says like second base. And so it has that kind of theme. Or when you go to the basement, there's another door, the community room that I expressed to you guys, the community youth center, is like third base. So it's very cool in that way because some of the things that were there 20 years ago is still hanging on. Other things have changed, but I noticed that they try to keep the same theme, which I appreciate. Yeah.
So you said there were like thousands of lawsuits going on.
Yeah.
Are the lawsuits more about the common spaces?
We're paying. And when the community begin to get gentrified, there's a clause in people's lease that allows you to kind of jump up thousands of dollars, $7,000 to be specific. So what they were doing was when somebody would not pay the rent for a month, they would not accept the rent late, not even a day late, take them to court, and when the procedures in court would be going on, they would owe thousands and thousands of dollars because I forgot the exact term, but they were able to kind of fluctuate their rent in that way because of a clause. So a lot of people was withholding their rent because the elevators wouldn't be working, there's problems in the units and things like that. However, the building is still charging these high rates because gentrification is going on. So that confused a lot of people. They're like, well, are you tending to the low income people or are you exploiting us to have higher income people here? And so today it is actually a mix, and it's interesting to see how it goes, and people who are not from this neighborhood are now like sharing in some of the stressors, and it's great because they're able to help advocate for things that have been not so great for a very long time. But it's the park. We got in 2017, we got $900,000, and we have been begging to fix this park for about 20 years. So that's definitely a positive.
Because you would think that if they want gentry to move in and pay higher rents, they weren't gonna wanna move in if the elevators don't work and
Exactly.
there's no heat in the winter. So you
Exactly.
would think that at least for the common
Yeah.
things, they would fix that up.
Yes.
Okay, should we move on to our last stop?
Are we walking through?
It's up to
Yeah, let's walk through.
Anybody want water before we go?
We're gonna walk through and come around?
No, walk through. We're gonna be on that side.
But it's right here.
Angelique, you wanna go right here?
We're gonna go through the back.
That's true.
We're gonna go through the back. For
we
Medgar?
walk to the front of campus, but do you want to walk through the building?
Yeah, they, we want to.
I need us to be light.
It's raining, but you still need to hydrate, guys. Thank you.
Forget.
Thank you. This is colder than mine.
Thank everyone so much. This is our final stop. Fozzie and I will be actually talking a little bit about Medgar Evers, the school, a little bit of history as far as that's concerned. We did come up through Ebbets Field, but one of the things that's really going on that we'll touch on in the back of the school is that Medgar's been here for almost like 50 years. And what's happening now is that because it's changing, they're actually building a green space. So it's like really a mess back here, so we don't want to, but that's one of the big things that Medgar is changing, like as mentioned, as changing, is coming to Medgar, and that's going to be a community mixed space so people can come and sit. So I'm going to pass it to Fozzie and she'll pass it over to me. All right, come on. This talk is more.
Y'all talk louder, Father.
I'm sorry. They put me on the spot. This is a review of the life of Medgar Evers and tribulation. You know, his life story and his tribulation. Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers was an African American civil rights activist. He was born on July 2nd, 1925 in the UK 76 years later he enlisted WACP field secretary in Mississippi. In 1952, Medgar Evers graduated from college and moved to Philadelphia, Mississippi. In 1954, the year of Supreme Court decision, Board versus Brown,
Like a wash.
Medgar Evers watched and realized his calling. He then decided to quit his insurance job. He applied, but he was denied to admission to law school. His successful effort to integrate the state's oldest public education institution attracted the attention of the NAACP's national office. Later that year, Evers moved to the state capital of Jackson and became the first state field secretary of the NAACP in Mississippi. Medgar Evers along with his older brother Charles Evers, worked together on behalf of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, organizing local affairs in Philadelphia. As state field secretary, Medgar Evers spent time to recruit new members throughout Mississippi.
What was that?
So wait, hold on. Okay. Let me pick it up. So, yeah. So, as Fazia mentioned, and I'd like everyone to give her a round of applause.
Very good.
Public speaking.
You did good. You did
So we're really appreciative. And I'm like, come up here.
You did good.
So she did amazing. So, so for Medgar Evers, I just talk a little bit about it now because I know it's raining. So on June 12, 1963, Evers was murdered in his driveway while his family was inside. It was his wife and children that actually found him in a pool of blood, clutching an anti-Jim Crow t-shirt. He died less than an hour later. His accused murderer was not brought to justice until 31 years later. Mr. Byron D. LeBeckwith Jr., born November 9th, died in January 21, 2001, was an American white supremacist and Klansman from Greenwood, Mississippi. After 2 trials in 1964, which both resulted in a mistrial, nonetheless, Murley and his brother Charles did not give up. They kept fighting for the justice for Medgar. So Byron was finally convicted and received a life sentence. He remained in prison until he died at Jackson Medical on January 24, 2001 at the age of 80 years of age. Evers was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His wife Murley and the brother assumed prominent roles of the civil rights movement and kept his honored legacy and notoriety going on long after his death. So for the Medgar Evers University as a whole, just giving you a quick background, the college was officially established in February 1968. The City University of New York announced plans for creation of an experimental community-based college that would be located in central Brooklyn. And it was later renamed Medgar Evers College. The school was to be the first CUNY campus located and focused on an unserved city neighborhood. Within days of the announcement, community leaders from several organizations began a months-long struggle with the CUNY administrators to play a crucial role in determining the mission and the development of this exact college we're standing in front of. So over time, their efforts were won. It was equal community representation, and the community was tasked with selecting a president, and with persistence and organization, the neighborhood influences expanded in other areas, including building selection, hiring, as well as the curriculum. Perhaps most impressively, it was only the community insisted that Medgar Evers became a 4-year college of CUNY. And initially it was proposed to be a 2-year institution. So for my classmates and I, we thank you all so much for coming along with this journey with us. Definitely we want to give a round of applause for our professor, Professor Lauermann. That definitely, opened up our eyes for urban planning.
Sure, let me talk.
That's all right.
Moving into place. So a lot of the individuals, also the organization of James Walk, they actually put the idea in our head. We appreciate it because we were so excited, and we it like really sparked it. I think they really were like amazed at the amount of questions that we had. You know, Professor Lauermann, we write every week, two papers per an article every week. But it actually shows the progression from when we started to now to really be able to confidently talk about a lot of these urban geographers. So, Professor Lauermann, we appreciate you. We thank you. And we thank all of you for joining us. I think we have someone from James Walk here, right?
We do actually.
Can we have someone from the team come up and
We
say
have
something?
somebody
Please,
from
come
Municipal
on up.
Society.
Videographer. We're the videographer.
I got her.
Got it? Good.
Got it.
Oh, boy. Yes.
I gotta get the MAS out. Hi, I'm Tara Kelly. I'm Vice President of Policy and Programs at the Municipal Art Society. We are the local hosts of this worldwide festival called Jane's Walk. There are more than 275 walks this weekend, so thank you so much for coming out in the rain. My mom and I are going to another one in the Navy Yard in about an hour. But you know, this is an opportunity to celebrate Jane Jacobs, an urbanist, an urban planner, a citizen who fought for the city, who fought Robert Moses. And we continue her legacy today by hosting this festival and also in the work that MAS does to help protect the city and raise up voices that are not heard by the city. So thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
So if anyone has to use the restroom, it's right inside. If you want to take a quick break, you absolutely can. Oh yeah, would you guys mind if we take a group picture? Yeah. Everyone up on the stage for us. Hey guys, I need to come on up. The umbrellas behind us? It's the ambulance. Go ahead. Professor, you gotta come down in front. With the kids. Kitties? Kitties? Kitties. Grace, come picture. So actually, I learned on the James Walk website that I think the picture is someone that takes one of the most prominent pictures that's chosen gets a ticket to go to the
There's a photo contest, so you have to tag Jane's Walk and MAS and NYC, but you get a ticket to our gala if you win.
Do you mind just Where's the cameraman?
Cameraman, I want you to get this angle too. Okay?